Hey, guy, what's up, dude? Happy Saturday. It's Saturday, it's still. It's still Saturday. Hey, man. Yeah, I saw Zoid bot. Oh, yeah. That'd be pretty awesome, Chris. I wish I could swing something like that. I have no idea. But that would be sick. But yes, if that sponsorship ever did come through, there'd be no warning. I like to hit people for maximum surprise value. Oh, I just noticed the timer ran out. I'm still sitting here tinkering away. Let's get started. Hold on. Let's see if this button works. Where's the buttons? Hey, it worked. There we go. What's up, everyone? Sorry, was just getting stuff set up for the stream, looking at a few things. I hope y'all are having a fantastic Saturday. I did. I had a really fantastic Saturday. We had a family reunion today. So got to see like lots of extended family that I don't see very often. I get to see lots of relatively close family I don't get to see very often. Sock's sister and her husband have been together, damn, I think like 24 years. They met in high school, got married after college, and they've got 6 children. And 3 of them are like middle and high school age. So they just keep super freaking busy. And we haven't got to see them in a long time. So like Sock's own sister we haven't got to see. So that was really nice to get to catch up with them. Guy, I got so much going on. I wouldn't have any time to help devote to that, unfortunately. I was thinking about it. I was like, could I even help with something like that? And no, my time is unfortunately the rarest commodity I've got at the moment. Especially with, I've got some big stuff at work and personal life coming up that I'm trying to figure out, unfortunately, to put it like no other better way. Hang on one sec. Stuff's breaking in here. There we go. Get rid of some of that. Yeah, Jocko sponsorship would be real big. That'd be awesome. I got to work on getting a little bit in better shape, right? I just started getting back to doing the exercise bike. So the way that thing works is actually pretty cool. I don't want to delete all my notes here, but I'm going to. Hang on. Because we're going to kind of revisit where we were with this. Actually, there's a different approach to this part right here. Don't want to do that. This part right here, there's a little bit different approach to that than what I thought. So I did get some feedback on the Game of Active Directory Lab to see if I was approaching it correctly, and I was not, and they gave me a hint on which direction to go. So I'll have to go check that out. But this exercise bike that I use is pretty cool, because you're doing on it is you're actually just doing sprints. And those sprints, like you go like full out whenever you're doing them. Like you're pedaling hard. It's got a little magnetic flywheel in it. So the idea is you're actually kind of like chilling like this, and then you bust it up to like dial it up to 11 for about 20 seconds, and then back down, and like that. And you do that like this. And you might be thinking, okay, cool, what's that going to do? Well, the difference is this height value right here, that changes. It's variable in here. And so there's a clutch in the bike that actually sees how much power you're putting out, checks your biometrics, and realizes if it can raise this, like, hey, you can get more power output, or does it need to decrease it? So it's constantly tuning it where you're actually putting out your power in it. So it works out, those two 20-second sprints actually work out really well. And you can adjust those, you can dial them up and down. But it's a pretty sick bike. And yeah, I've been getting back to doing that. It's the very simplest exercise that I can get going. All right, I'll have to talk to you about it more, Zoid, because maybe I'm just missing it. But yeah, I'll check it. I mean, I looked at it But I have to go check it out somewhere. Oh no, I tore the space-time continuum. Hang on, let me fix this real quick. Boop. There we go. Beautiful. All right, I need to go check something real quick here, because this part is actually something I need to go double check, like how LXO1 is connecting over to this. Hang on one second. Let me see here. I'm asking Harvey something real quick. All right. And if double check something, looking for a link. I just told some cyber folks about Blaise Bits Live this week. Oh, nice, man. Thank you. Thank you for spreading the word. Actually, excuse me. Yeah, there's actually a couple of guys that follow the stream, and they'll be at industry conferences, and they'll go up to folks at my company, and they'll be like, oh, hey, by the way, I love Blaise's stream. And so they make it a regular affair whenever they're at those conferences to just go up to the vendor booth and tell them. It's funny. Does this mean we need merch now? Dude. I actually had a merch idea. Hold on, let me look right here. Where was it? Yeah, so one of the ideas was have like a Bob Ross in there, like, but he's at a terminal instead of at instead of painting, and it's not a buffer crash, it's just a happy little RCE, something like that. I thought that'd be funny. Hold on. I think this AI agent actually crashed on me. Yeah, it did. Damn it. Hang on. So, because there's a hint here about what happens when we saw this. Hang on, let me make sure I got the lab all the way back up. Let me get back in here real quick. So what we know is, hold on, let me log back into Mythic. Here we go. So from going through and looking at the Cyrax machine, using the Sunfire account, we're able to find quite a bit, but there's no like really definitive local privilege escalation on here. There's exploits we could go do, right? We could go through and we could do dirty frag, we could do copy fail. We know they're not patched in this lab, but that wasn't the spirit of it. So I went and I did a tiny bit of digging, trying not to spoil myself too much. And basically the hint that I got was, look at how the SSS process on the Linux server actually figures out like what user to use in Active Directory. So we're going to see if we can kind of map that out. Because let's take a look at here. Well, this is processing. So everything's still up. So what we've got is, we have LXO1 here, right? And then what we have is, we've got the domain controller here. So whenever somebody comes like from here and they want to SSH in, right? They've got to provide some kind of a username to that. And then what happens is LX01 has its own account to go talk to the domain controller, right? And it's going to ask basically, you know, who is this? So we know though that there's certain missing accounts in here, right? So if we come back over here, we can look at like the Etsy password, right? So if we do cat Etsy passwd, that gives us a list of all the users on the machine, right? And so we see, I wonder if we actually see ourselves in here, because we're operating as Sunfire, right? Yeah, see, I don't see Sunfire in here. Hang on, let me take this. Let me take this out of here and put it into the text editor so I can actually take a look at it. Let's do that. Okay. So, this guy, don't care about, don't care about, don't care about, don't care about. Let's see. Because what I want to look, actually, hold on, let me just search. I can't do that. You piece of crap. Hang on. I got to figure out a way to disable that. Don't show the toolbar. Because what I'm doing is, we don't see Sunfire in here, right? So Sunfire's not in here. So we know it's not a built-in account. So the whole point of what I was trying to show you is that it's not a local account. LX01 has to be able to talk to the DC and find that user account. I feel like a toolbar sometimes when I'm coding and it's not working. This toolbar is annoying. So what's happening is we got to figure out what this process is doing. This was the hint I was given. It's like, hey, look at how LX01 is finding the accounts to go in here. So far what we have is we have Sunfire. We have this username and password. We can SSH over to LX01. We can also reach over to the domain controller. So if we go look in there, let's go look at something real quick. So if we look at, like, for example, in... let me close that. If I come over to Bloodhound, right? And if we just want like a list of all the users, we could find them in there. But something we don't see is like... Well, actually, there's another question we need to ask. How does SSS actually go through and what order does it process? Does it try to look for local accounts first, or does it try to look for remote accounts first? So let's go look for that real quick. I think this is the one. Yeah, hang on. Let's see. So let's look for Linux SSS account search order. Here we go. Actually, let's see here. So in a Linux system using SSSD, the account search order is primarily determined by the Etsy NSSwitch conf file, which dictates the sequence of modules, either files, SSS, queried by application, or the name switch service functions like get pwnam. All right, so let's go look at this file real quick. Let's pop into Mythic and go pull that up. See if we can get a little bit more situational awareness. All right, so let's see. So it's going to go files, systemd, then SSS. What's the anatomy of this, though? I mean, so this is nice. It gives us like what the file is, but hold on, let's go look at here. Anatomy of an SSSD user lookup. Look at common operations. Let's see. All right, let's start right here. So before going into SSSD is just such a mouthful to say real quick. Let's see. Let's do a quick intro of what happens on the system in general. So let's say we have an admin configured SSSD and test the configuration by requesting the admin user. So we could do passwd admin. And so when the information is requested about a user, let's go try that real quick. We'll try that with our own account in here. So let's do shell, drop this. But instead of admin, what we'll do is we'll do Sunfire in here. How do I spell that? F-Y-R-E. Hey, there we go. Now, see, what's wild is when we looked in the past WD, Sunfire was not in there. But yeah, so we see Sunfire's in here. Now, what if we do an account that we know is built in, like TripDub's data? What happens with that? All right, so that one kind of comes back a little bit like normal. What about if we do root? Because that's our target. That's where we want to go. All right, so real basic. Basically, it's getting us the password, the passwd kind of entry for that. In a Bob Ross voice. And that account was tripped up data. Will be our little secret. Tripped up's data will be our tiny little secret. Anyway, so let's see what he's talking about whenever it goes through this. So whenever a user requests information about a user, typically one of the functions of the name service switch, such as get pwnam or init groups in glibc is called. So there's lots of information about the name switch service and libc, but for our purpose, it's enough to know that the libc opens and reads a config file for nsswitch.conf, which is the one we just looked at. So to find out what modules should be contacted in what order. So the module that all of us have on our Linux machines is files, which can read files from user info like etc password. The user info in etc groups. There's also an LDAP module that would read the info directly from an LDAP server, and of course SSS modules to talk to SSSD. So how does this all work? First thing to keep in mind is, unlike NSS LDAP or PAM LDAP, SSSD is not just a module that's loaded in the context of the application, but rather a daemon that the modules communicate with. So almost no logic is implemented in the modules. All the functionality happens in that daemon. A user visible effect during debugging is that using strace is not too helpful, as it would only show if the request made it to SSSD. So for debugging the rest, the SSSD debug logs have to be used, or should be used. And also, SSSD is actually not just one, but a set of those daemons running in the background. So for anybody who's curious, a daemon is just a background process listening, running in the background. It's not one that you're actively interacting with like on a terminal basis. So there's actually three kinds of these SSSD processes. One is the process itself. So its purpose is to read the config file after startup and spawn the other processes according to that config file. And there's a responder, then there are responder or front-end processes that listen to queries from the applications, like the query for the passwd command. If the responder process needs to contact the remote service for data, it talks to the last SSSD process, which is like a data provider or backend process. Okay, so kind of what we've got here is we've got a little bit like a hierarchical flow happening here. Bring this over here. So what we have is we have the primary SSSD process happening here. It goes down and it spawns, let's call it like the front end process right here. And this is where other processes in here will talk to it. So like, for example, if we do like passwd right here, this would talk to that front end process. The front end process then goes and says, oh, okay, do I need to go talk to something else like an LDAP provider? And that's where we've got like the back end process here. This would actually go and then talk to the DC, right? To go do the proper LDAP queries, look at all the information. So this is kind of the data flow that we're looking at here. So this is kind of like two-way, I believe, like that. So this architecture allows for a pluggable setup, and there's different backend processes talking to different remote services. Okay, so we have one in this case. That's fine. So each process is represented by a section in the SSSD config file. Did we look at that? Let me go see. We looked at the NS switch one. Let's see if we can find that. Where would that be? Hang on. Where's our file browser? Let me bring that up. It's probably over in Etsy. Let's refresh this real quick. sort by name here. There we go. So where is, do we have anything for SSSD? Yeah, so here's SSSD. If it'll open, there we go. Refresh. Did it come back? Nothing in SSSD? Really? So where's that config file living at? At least it's, well, a lot of these systems have typically multiple places for that config file to list, and then they become hierarchical too. So this is a lot of the just tracking down the process of where this is. Let's go see if we can find that real quick. Let's go back here. Let's do shell find. Let's see. Name, and then redirect all the errors over to dev null, because I don't care about those. Let's let that run for a second, see if we can find it. Here we go. So actually, there's one over in user lib. So that maybe that's a default one. Let's pull that up real quick. Okay, so domain is coming through shadow utils, and then, so what he's saying in here is, so the main SSSD process is represented by that section. The front-end processes are defined on the services line in the SSSD section. So we don't see anything particular in here, right? We see domain shadow utils, and we see for this, it's just domains. So finally, the backend process of those configured in that domain section. So that's this part right here. So ID provider is proxy, let's see, proxy libnames files. Auth provider is also proxy. The proxy PAM target is the SSD shadow utils. And then proxy fast alias, whatever that is set to true. So we'll have to figure out like what each of those settings actually does. But if I had to guess, if the ID provider is proxy, that means that basically don't use local. And if the proxy libname is files, that might be interesting because if we look back at what the NS switch one was, the first thing it comes to check is files in here. And then systemd and then SSS. So I'm not quite sure where that interplay is coming in just yet. So to illustrate the flow, there's a diagram that follows. The full arrows represent the local I/O operations, like opening a file. The empty arrows represent local IPC over Unix sockets. All right, so we told it like, hey, get the passwd entry for admin. That's going to go over to libc, and libc is then going to call NSSSS. It's going to check memcache. Then it's going to go over to the NSS responder here, which is then going to check the local database cache. If it doesn't have a cache hit, it's going to forward it over to the data provider. And so that data provider is still a process on our machine. Then it's going to reach over to the domain controller here. So after it reaches over the domain controller, then it's going to come through and it's going to cache all that information here. And then once it caches it, then it's going to send it back over to that responder process here, and then finally back over to libc. So anything we don't have cached, according to whatever the cache rules are, it's going to go hit the domain controller. Makes sense. The only thing I'm curious about is, like, so for example, when we did this with root, it worked. Hold on, let's go try it with a different entry in here. What if we did another user that we know is not in here? So for example, like, let's see, was Vagar a machine or was that a pass? I don't remember. Let me see. Let's see. Search for Sunfire. Oh, no, hold on. Actually, let me look for another one. Because the one we're looking for is who's a member of Linux admins, right? So who's a member of Linux admins? Members. We had 2 in here. Rhaegal. So Rhaegal is a Linux admin, right? So let's go see what happens whenever we go check, like, hey, do we have a past WD entry for Rhaegal? And I wonder if I need to make that lowercase. I'm going to do it just in case. Rhaegal. There we go. Let's take that out. Let's go see what happens. The theme of tonight is hack around and find out. Okay, interesting. So we got entries for Rhaegal. What about another user, like one we know has not connected over to this system? So Rhaegal is a Linux administrator, right? We know he hasn't connected. Let's see. What was the name of the other server in there? I can't remember. What was it? Who is it that has the right SPN permission? That's Vagar. Hold on. We can find it from Vagar. Here we go. We can go over to Vagar and then look at who has inbound permissions to it. Inbound execution permissions. Constrained delegation. Maybe not. Maybe we want to look for inbound object control. Who's that? Viserion. There you go. That's who I was trying to remember. Viserion has that right SPN one right here. Viserion, however, he's not a member of any special groups. Remember that? Actually, he's a member of the Linux users group. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So, maybe if Viserion's in there, then maybe... come on. I want to find a user that I know isn't in there. Let me try something real quick. Who's a member of authenticated users? Just those groups. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. Because there's no way a domain admin should be logging into that server. I want to find a user that's not a normal built-in user that probably has not logged into that machine. Let's see. Members. Who do we have? So we have Drogon. Okay, let's go try Drogon real quick. I want to see what happens if we do that. And there's no reason Drogon should be logging into this machine. Interesting. Okay. So we still get information back about Drogon, which works because if you remember what we had here, it's still going through this process. So even though it's finding it, it's looking for him. No, let's compare those real quick. So where was Sunfire? We did this for Sunfire. Let me grab all of these real quick. And let's go throw them over into Notepad and just kind of compare them real quick. So there was Sunfire. And then, what was the other one we did? We did Rhaegal here. But Rhaegal he's a Linux user. But what about Drogon? Are they all coming back with the same group in here? Let's see. Oh, come on. Why you no copy? Copy. Let's go see. Yeah, so all these are coming back different user IDs, same group ID here, right? Let me go look at something on Drogon real quick. Because I think we still got him up over in Bloodhound. So if we look at Drogon. How does it map these users to a group? Because what they have to do is basically each of these. Where is it? I keep trying to Alt-Tab and it's messing me up. Here we go. So if we come back over here, right? Notice how each of these is different, but each of these is identical in here. And I believe that's the user ID and then the group. God, I can't believe I drawn a blank on that. Let's see. Past WD entry at group user ID. I gotta remember which one. I believe it's the user ID first, and then it's the group ID. Yeah, so 3 is the user ID and then the group ID. That's right. So they all have the same group ID here. Bam, bam, bam. But what group is that? Hang on, we can actually find out real quick. Let's see. Shell, who am I? Actually, no, we can just do shell ID in here. There we go. Okay, so we've got this right here. So the GID is just somebody in domain users. So it looks like maybe all domain users are allowed to log in here. Right, because that's the primary group ID. Domain users, and then we've got our UID here. So one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, how is this actually converting the group ID or the user ID? How's it generating it? Let me look and see if he has a list here. I don't know if we can actually, let's go check something real quick. We probably don't have access over to varlog, but you know what? It's worth a try. Let's do ls la varlog. Let's see what happens in here. So yeah, so it is listed as root syslog. Everyone else has read and execute permissions there, so we might actually be able to go read that. So there's our SSSD log right there. But unfortunately, for the particular log we want, we don't have any permission on it. So we have permission to read the contents, but we don't have permission to write anything in there, unfortunately. Okay, so bummer. So we can't just go read the SSSD logs to figure out like kind of what's up. Not a problem. We can figure this out. Let's see. Let's look for that. How does SSSD map a domain user to a Linux group ID? Actually, that should be a group ID. That should be user ID. So by default, SSSD uses ID mapping to algorithmically generate POSIX IDs from the AD SID. Okay, that makes sense. I was trying to see, like, hey, is this something... Because we can see the SIDs in here, right? The security identifier. We see that right here. That's what this is. Object ID, same thing as... This is what their security identifier is right here. Well... Technically, yeah, this is the domain security identifier, and we've got this one right here. So, for example, Drogon is 1108, and then what do we have for him? Oh wait, here we go. Yeah, so here's 1108 right here. These first couple digits are the exact same. So 178440. Let me see. So it's just whatever that 178440 is in there. So it depends on what this predecessor is. So if we have in... I don't think we looked at that one. I think we looked at a different config. Let's go try that real quick. Let's see if we can unspool this. Okay, so we cannot read the SSSD config. We read the other one. But anyway, so that makes sense. There's some kind of like precursor ID that's happening in here, right? If we look at, here we go. Because notice all these have the same first couple starting digits, and then we have a different ID number here. So if we go look at Sunfire, we can verify this real fast. So Sunfire, and we look at Sunfire's SID in here. And see, the security identifier, it is in 1111. So yeah, awesome. So that tells us how we're going to map all these different groups together. All right, hang on. Let me check something real quick. Let's see. So we looked at, this was the hint that was given to me was, hey, go check and see how is SSSD mapping over to these other things. So if it's going through and it's searching for that, it has to be doing some kind of a search for that user, right? What happens if we just throw a fake user in there? Always a good sanity check, right? So what if we just search for like foobar? All right, so if we do look for foobar, we get an exit status in here. Let's see. Let's just do a search real quick. Let's see. SSSD impersonating accounts in Active Directory. Because chances are somebody has already documented this. It's trying to put me like in something different in here. Where could I find this? Maybe I'm searching for the wrong thing, maybe. Impersonating accounts in Active Directory. Let's see. Hey, Blanco, what's up, man? Welcome in. I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. Come on in. We are just hacking on a little bit of a system called SSSD and how it talks over to Active Directory. And having some fun here. Let me see if I can find something real quick. So I'm a newbie in coding. I'm interested to study. Dude, I mean, it's great to be a newbie. Everything is like really awesome and shiny. Especially like, hey, sometimes things are hard to like pick up occasionally, right? But it's just becoming hard like while your brain's learning about it, right? Because your brain likes to put stuff into an organized structure. And if you don't have the organization, because your brain's never been exposed to it, it's got to learn it. It's got to build the organization structure. Hey, Bobby, what's up, dude? Hope everything's going well. Yeah, man, we're still working on... So I got a little bit of a hint, Bobby, on how to do the privilege escalation. And the hint was like, look at how SSSD finds the users over an Active Directory. That was the hint. Let's see here. Let's try something. You know what? Hang on. I got an idea. Let's try something stupid. What happens if we go and search for a machine account? Right? Could a machine account potentially go log into this? Because if so, we have an account. Hang on. Check this out. So we compromised Sunfire. And does this show it in here? Hang on. It doesn't show it in here, but I'd be willing to bet that Sunfire here actually has something called a machine account quota. Let me see. Let's see. NetExec check machine account quota. I'm not a bot. Go away, Brave. My country's government's giving away a 6-month course with very cheap money to pay. Nice. Dude, then go knock it out. Study hard. What I tell people whenever they're studying is you want to study things in 2 ways. The first way is if you got some kind of like certification or exam at the end, yeah, you need to study for the certification and for the exam. But that is actually secondary to studying and tinkering and, or as I like to call it, hacking around on it and figuring out like actually how it's working and how the various pieces are actually fitting together in there. So just go around and get used to like setting up things, tinkering with them, asking dumb questions, because you're going to find dumb answers, but eventually those dumb answers actually becomes part of something better. Believe it or not, they're going to seem disconnected, but when you get that little piece of information, it just adds more into that scaffold in your brain. I'm afraid to fail to make something during the course. I always tell people, dude, there's honor in the attempt. If it's not going to cost you very much, right? So there's a caveat to this. For example, university study in America where I live is very expensive. So if it was that kind of scenario, I wouldn't say, hey, you should go try. And just, it was like, no, if you're not really prepared for it and the cost and the benefit and like aren't there, then no, I wouldn't do that. However, if it's not a very expensive course, like you were saying, hey, they're offering it for a little bit less expensive, then what you could do is go through it and at least try it. There's honor in the attempt. Wi-Fi password cracker, Kali Linux. I mean, yeah, you could do that. Cartoon, it's easy to do that. Well, easy depending on several caveats. Password strength, cryptographic strength of what they're doing. Are they even using a password? They could be using 802.1x. The honor of wearing Blaise Bits merch. Maybe one day I'll make something, but I don't know. I'll think about it. All right, hang on. I got to check this real quick. I need to see what the machine account quota is. Yeah, see, Bobby, I've not really dug into SSSD's interactions either. However, what we have is we already had this kind of set up. So we can just come over here and we can just run the Mac module, MAQ. What is going on here? No. No, you son of a biscuit. Oh, good. I fat fingered something and killed the terminal, but it was running in Tmux in the background, so yay. All right, hang on. Okay, snap. So maybe this is another thing we can do. Sunfire has a machine account quota of 10 machines, and which I thought it would. This is a default configuration in Active Directory, basically meaning that I can use a non-privileged account, which is Sunfire, to add up to 10 machines to the domain. I can join 10 of them in here. So let's go take a look here. What happens if I look up a machine account? Let's go find a legit machine account over in Bloodhound real quick. Let's see. What was this one? Let's see. So like Vagar, for example. And there's actually 2 ways we want to test this, because little bit of insider information here. So the machine account, the computer's name is Vagar, right? However, there's also a lot of times these machines are referenced by, they have 2 things in here, the NetBIOS name and the SAM account name. Hang on, let me show you. So if I come back over to this computer here, What are you doing? Let go. Let go of my mouse. There we go. Oh, snap. They made a module for me. Dude, this is in the Dracarys lab, Bobby. I think it's sick. All right, hang on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here we go. So you can kind of barely see it right there. I'm going to try and make it big without like it disappearing behind my head. There we go. So the security authentication manager, I think that's what SAM is. But anyway, the SAM account name is actually Vagar $. So I want to test this in two ways. What happens if I try just Vagar? And then what happens if I try Vagar $? So let's go try that real quick. Let me zoom this back out here. Zoom that thing out. So let me grab VHA GAR. Hang on. So let's go try that real quick. So let's see, VHA GAR right here. Interesting. So Vagar didn't come back with anything. But what if I try Vagar, and I'm going to put a / in front of that so it escapes it. Ooh, interesting. So it's matching it just like that. Okay. So it does require the SAM account name to kind of be in there. Let me go take a look for something real quick on that. Like how does this actually handle these $ accounts? SSSD machine accounts with $. Like how's it look those up? So I'll read this because it's like interesting backstory. So in Active Directory, the $ appended to a computer's account, their SAM account name, indicates the machine has successfully joined the domain and authenticated. It's standard for machine accounts to distinguish them from user accounts, although managed service accounts also use the $ suffix. So when Linux clients join an Active Directory domain using SSSD, they create a corresponding machine account with the trailing $ and manage its password automatically via Kerberos. Makes sense. Security vulnerabilities like the $ticket attack exploit this fact with some MIT-style Kerberos implementations may strip this trailing $. Ooh. Interesting. Okay, so we might have a name collision we can work with. So this says they might strip the trailing $ when mapping principals, potentially allowing a domain user to create a malicious account. Hold on. Wait a second. Okay, so it actually did show Vagar $in here. Yes, the good old SAM account name shenanigans. Trying to use the machine and computer accounts is often overlooked, so it's definitely worth looking at. It is. So, now the kicker here is, this is based off of the security, this is based off the SID, Bobby, that's what we were looking at earlier. So here, hold on. Actually, I'll grab this just as a simple data piece, right? So each of these, you'll notice, I lined them up, but they all have this predecessor value in here. I'm trying to know what that is, but the last 4 here matches to their RID. Whatever, I think it's the RID. What is it? RID versus SID. Active Directory. I spelled active wrong. That's all right. Yeah, so there we go. So the RID is the relative identifier. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I remembered exactly which digits those were. So I was using the correct term. I'm not leading anybody astray. So let me look at something real quick here. So here's the object ID. So all of this is like, here's the domain secure identifier, right? This guy right here. And then this part, this extra little 4 digits here at the end, in this case, it could be multiple. That's the relative identifier. The RID. So you have the domain's security identifier, and then you have the RID right there. So I still don't know where this value is coming from. Yeah, this one right here, this 178440. not sure where that's coming from. And notice how 0513 right here, that's a well-known one. That's domain users. Makes sense for the group. Yeah, so this is their individual RID, right? So whatever this predecessor value is plus a RID, there's some kind of algorithm that SSSD will run through to deterministically convert the SID over to a POSIX group number, user ID and group number in here. So we know what this is. I just don't know what this value is. These first 6 digits. This 178440. That's the part that's bugging me. So, Sukai Bearer, that's what I'm going to go with. So isn't the first part of the domain the SID part from the RID master? Let me double check. It didn't look like it, but maybe I just missed it. I'll tell you what, let me grab this out of here real quick so I can blow it up and y'all can see it a little bit better too. So here's the... If I take that out, this is the domain SID right here. And so I don't see anything that directly kind of maps over to it. But there's also processing that they could be doing to like do that mapping in here. To map this, something in this value or key parts of it over to this value. We just have to know that, hey, this is kind of like our magic number for this particular lab until I figure out what causes that mapping number in there. Yeah, that was one of the first things I kind of looked at, Sukai. I was like, what was it doing? And I wanted to try and take a look at it, but it's not immediately jumping out to me like how it's doing that. I don't know, actually, hang on. No, that wouldn't make sense. I was thinking like maybe if it handled this like arithmetically, like this number minus this number minus this number, but that's going to give me a negative number. I don't know, it could wrap back around. It's not super important at the moment. But what we have is we have a couple of interesting pieces of information here, right? Well, we've got Vagar dollar. Hold on. There was another thing before I forget. This mentioned security vulnerabilities like the dollar ticket attack exploit the fact that some MIT-style Kerberos implementations may strip the trailing dollar when mapping principals, potentially allowing domain user to create a malicious account, e.g. root dollar, and authenticate as a privileged local user, root, on a Linux host. Say more, fam. Say more. Let's see. Not showing anything. Hold on. Let me look at this up real quick. Let's see. Dollar ticket attack. The Samba Wiki. Good old Samba. Let me see what they're talking about here. Actually, hold on. Wait. Let's do this one better. If this is gonna be, if it's big enough to be in the Samba wiki, it's probably also referenced by SSSD. Okay, same one. That's fine. Let's see. So just as Samba saw CVE 2020 something, the default principle to username mappings in MIT Kerberos is unsafe if user creation on the realm is not privileged. Even if SSSD or Samba provides a more complex account local name plugin, the default behavior remains to map a user in the default realm to the matching user locally. It helps to provide SSSD mapping to an unprivileged account if the account is taken away before the ticket is presented. MIT-style servers don't know a dollar sign is missing, so unless the MIT-style Kerberos acceptor enforces the presence of the pack. Oh god, what is pack again? I forget what that is. I know what it is. I'm trying to remember like what pack actually stands for. It's crap. Can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that. Anyway, unless it actually enforces the presence of the pack. Damn it, it's gonna bug me. Hang on. Yeah, the privileged attribute certificates. Cryptographically signed data structure embedded within the Kerberos ticket. So, yeah, that's what that is. And the reason I remembered it is because there's a way to do something called to unpack the hash against... oh, God, what was that? Dude, I'm drawing so many blanks here. Unpack the hash. Kerberos credential access technique that allows an attacker to extract the NTLM and the landman hashes of a user or machine account by abusing PKNet pre-authentication mechanisms. Yeah, so basically, if you have certain tickets, you can go through and you could do an unpack the hash, you can get the NTLM hash back out. Yeah, that's usually one of the things I first think about when I think of PAC, Bobby, is the proxy autoconfig. There's so many acronyms. Let's see here. So what do they talk about in this? So a user able to create an account root $ in Active Directory, via a machine account quota can present a ticket to the target as root and access SSH as root in default domain join machines using SSSD and Realm plus many similar and simpler custom pre-deployment configurations. So what does he talk about for the exploit steps here? So Realm join a computer named Fedora. Oh, this is Fedora joined to the machine. Okay. So he's using addcomputer.py. He's adding computer name root right here. Boom. Okay, so he's using a script to add a machine account named root in here. And then he's using KNet root and then SSH via that. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I think that is maybe our way into this. Hang on, I at least look at one other thing in here. So in this case right here, what it's doing is it's doing a KNet for Andrew. He does add computer. Let's see, DC host is here. And then I guess this is like what username he's using. Method LDAP S computer name root. I don't know if that's one of the in-packet scripts. I don't think I've used that one in a long time. Maybe I did. But then what he's doing is he's using the GSS API and then using user root and connecting over to Fedora. Nice. All right, so what we need to do is we need to go register a machine account as root in here because it looks like it doesn't always enforce that $sign in there. So even though from our testing, I mean, it's worth a try, right? Let's walk through this again real quick. So what we saw is when we looked for Vagar, it didn't work. But when we looked for Vagar $, which is a machine account, we actually did get something in here. So that was interesting. But you know what? It's kind of worth a try in here. So let's go try that real quick. All right. So what do we need to do is, do I have the in packet? I do. We have in packet add computer in here. Okay. In packet add computer. And then I believe that was the exact same kind of configuration. Let me see. Yeah, that looked like it was the exact same. There we go. I found the related article. Oh, did you? Where's my browser? I got too many windows open. Yeah. Machine account quota is something that I abuse all the time. You know, create a computer account. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, yeah, so this is the in-packet version of that. Nice. Nice. Okay, So what we want to do is, let's do this. Actually, hold on. Is there a way to do this with... Oh, I'm surprised NXC doesn't have an ability to do that. We could do it with Bloody AD. Could do it with Impacket. That's right. We'll just do it with Impacket. Be fine. Yeah, it's right along these lines. By the way, I need to go back and mess with Exegol some more. That was kind of a cool tool. I liked it. Maybe I'll use that in the future here. All right. I'm going to run this again just for grins and giggles. Hold on. Just to clean up the terminal, basically. Make it nice and pretty. Okay, so now what I want to do is impact it, add computer, and then we want to give it the computer name. Hang on. I'm going to bring this up on my other monitor real quick so I can... There we go. So that way I don't have to keep switching back and forth here. All right, so we're going to do computer name. We'll do something like root. And then DC host is going to be Valerian. This guy right here. Boop, boop. And for... Oh, God, what was that? There we go. And then also we'll need our... I think we need like the... Do we need that? There's other stuff I'm taking a look at here. I think that's all we need. You know what? This one recommended doing the... Hang on. Stand by. Stand by. Packing in progress. Stand by. Okay, I guess we do need to include the NetBIOS. Okay, so let's do that. Domain, let's see. It is NetBIOS, name of the domain here. So in this case, it's going to be Dre... How do we spell it? D-R-A-C-A... Dracar, yes. There we go. So Dracarys.lab, and then we need to give it our credentials in here. So this would be... Our credential set is going to be, again, Dracarys. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do the full thing. Dracarys.lab/sunfire. And this is something you'll see quite a bit, where like, hey, it's domain/username : password. That's a real common like kind of pattern that you'll see in a lot of the Impacket tools. All right, so if I structured this correctly, what should happen is we should create a new machine in the domain called root. Boom. All right, so we want to save this information here. So let's save this over to our credentials store right here. Boom, just like that. And you see, like, I even did that in here. It's like, hey, in fact, I'm going to switch that to a / like that. Yeah, we'll find this. I think I found the details on the 178440 number. So reading the Ubuntu man page related to the SSSD conf, it's a UID created and combined with the Active Directory ID and LDAP ID mapping. Okay. Maybe that's... which config file is that in? Is that in the... It's going to be probably in the SSSD config, which we read. However, it didn't contain that information. It had other information. And there's some that we can't read. So like, for example, the Etsy SSSD config, if it's in there, we don't have read permission to that yet, but I think we're about to get it. And then there was another one here. This one, which is kind of like the default one, it didn't have any information about how those IDs were handled. Well, we read the Etsy SSSD comp, didn't we? Oh, we didn't. We read the NS switch comp. Hang on, let me try that real quick. Etsy SSSD.conf. Overlooked that. Okay, so we didn't have the Etsy SSSD one. It was SSSD, Etsy SSSD, SSSD.conf. Yeah. So once we root this box, we'll take a look at it and we'll see what it got with it. Because I think we're about to do that. All right, so now there's a kicker here. So what we've got is we have root dollars, username and password, right? But this attack specifically has to deal with a mismatch in handling how MIT Kerberos handles when the dollar sign is appended to the end. Yeah, Tsukai, that's the one I was looking at, and it was like we didn't have access to it. But we're going to get it here in just a minute. Oh yeah, not sponsored by Jocko yet. I'm working on it, Jocko. I'm back on the crushing it train. Let's see. So now, this is the first step. There's actually 3 steps here. First step, we got to create the account. So what we have now is if we went and did... Let me show you this real quick. So if I come back over into Le Bloodhound, right? And I search for root, nothing comes back. We don't have any accounts like that. However, if I come back over here, I redo the collection for this. And it doesn't take very long. It just takes it a second. All right. And then if we take this and we go upload it over into Bloodhound, let's bring this. No, not log out. Damn it. I clicked the wrong button. I have brought shame on my family. There we go. Let's see. Administration. File ingestion. Here we go. Upload file. And then...
Welcome, agent.
Hey, monkey! I need to go change that, monkey, because actually, this was you're like this is like your 5th resub, so it shouldn't say you've crashed the buffer. Oh, no, maybe. I added a new thing. Whenever you crash the buffer, it increments it and it stores it. So now it's a, hey, monkeys crushed the buffer 1 time. I brought shame on my family. Is that a reference to a show or a book character? Really just a reference to like older feudal Japan. I have brought shame on my family. I must commit Sudoku to protect my honor. It's just me being typical American trash. Oh, weird, because I just got a pop-up saying that was your, saying you've been subscribed for 5 months. So that's weird. I want to go change that too. Like, as soon as you hit certain, like, key levels, it's like you're, like, a new emerging threat, and then eventually you'll become, like, an initial access broker, and then finally you'll be, like, nation-state actor, and then maybe, like, the top tier is you're a Fed. Oh, 5 total, but a 2-month streak. I gotcha. Well, welcome in, dude. I hope you've been doing really awesome and you're having a wonderful Saturday. Hold on, what was the one that we just did? Where did this game... Hold on, where did this file get dropped again? Hang on, I'm losing my mind. All right, hang on. Let me just do this real quick. Copy section. Let's just move that. Move this guy here. And then we'll go upload it again. There we go. This one right here. Open. So now we'll give this just a second to process, and then what we'll do is we will see a new root computer in there. So see how it's ingesting right now. Work at the NSA on Windows 95 machines. That's right. That's right. That's where all the elite people are doing it. Dude, I loved Windows 95. Actually, Windows 95 wasn't bad. Really, I like the one Windows version that like lives forever in my heart is Windows XP. I got to be real with you. I loved Windows XP. Windows NT is the GOAT. Okay, now we can go back and explore this again. So if we look for this, we look for root. Now you see we've got a new root machine in here, right? So we just made this. It wasn't in here before. Now we've got it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to abuse this by basically getting a TGT, a ticket granting ticket that we can use for Kerberos to authenticate over to the domain, over to Cyrax. which is the Linux server. So what we want to do is in packet get tgt. Get tgt. Just like that. And then, I don't remember what the options are. All right, so what we need is, we need hashes, no pass. No, we don't want to do no pass. We want to do, let's see. What else do we need to, well, I know one thing we need to do is we need to get the DC IP. DC IP, and that is, let's see, where's the DC? 10.4.10.10. So let me grab that. So let's do 10.4.10.10. And then after that, we want to, I think that's it. Actually, I don't think we need anything else in here. We can just tell it what we want to get, because we're trying to get a TGT, right? So then we can just provide it the identity. So our identity, I think we just copy that right out of here. Creds, let's see. And we can just modify this real quick. So let's do, I'm lazy and I want to type that out. And then this was root, yes. And then our password. So we grab the password. Boop. Grab that. Wrong realm? Did I screw that up? Did I misspell Dracarys? Hold on, let me see. That is weird. Why did that work? Because I totally misspelled that. Dracarys. Yeah. That is weird. Why did that work? Good catch, 44. I mean, it obviously worked, right? Hold on. Let me fix the typo in here. It should be Dracarys, like this. That's so weird. There might have been a little bit of sleight of hand going in the background for the add computer, right? Because we gave it the DCIP. One thing it could have done is, since it knew what the IP address was, it could have gone through and pulled the actual realm and then just stripped it out and used that instead of like what our authentication was. Although that seems really sus. That's weird that that worked. Yeah, close enough. Griffin, what's up, dude? Oh, dude, I don't know why the raid alert didn't go off. All right, hold on. I have to do the raid alert.
Warning, virus detected. Woot woot. Warning, virus detected.
What's up, Griffin? My bro. Dude, I don't know the next time I'm going to make it out your way, but I'm looking forward to it so I can we can actually go hang out. Maybe in like 4 months I'll head out that way. But welcome in, Raiders. Everybody doing awesome code hacking over on the Griffin string. Code hacking, building, hacking, building. Hacking's not always destructive, you know? It's a learning process. The only crime is curiosity, as the old saying says. But we're actually working on hacking, and breaking stuff. So we're about to privilege escalate on the Linux box using some Kerberos shenanigans. We handcraft our own damn alerts. That's right. I was working on the stream system, and I guess it broke it. Hey, Implonk, thanks for coming online, man. I'll probably be at your code in Dallas again. Dude, when is that? Because I'll see if I can make myself available so I can make an appearance, or maybe we can at least just hang out. You had me at shenanigans. Dude, everything I do is shenanigans. It's like, why would you do that? Well, because I'm an idiot. That's why I would do it. And then I just make QA people cry. It's like, well, no real user's going to do that. I did it. Didn't I? Am I not a real user? Are we committing a no real Scotsman fallacy right now? Let me see. Hang on, let me check this out real quick. Peaches, you better not need to go outside. She's over here begging to go out. Oh, September 3rd and 4th? Sweet. I think I'll be in town for that, too. Hang on. Let me check something real quick. No way. Sock just told me our youngest son is still awake. That little turd, he's going to be so annoying tomorrow. It's way past his bedtime. And he's going to be like, I'm not sleepy. And then he's going to wake up and be like, I'm a turd. Actually, yes, cool. I will just barely be in town for that. Because I've got another trip I've got scheduled. So, nice. Yes. Okay. Hang on. I'm going to make a copy of this because I want to remember that. Maybe I'll go check that out. Maybe I can use my professional development budget for it. Let's see. All right, so let me catch everybody up here who just came in on the awesome, wonderful Professor Sensei gripping stream. Where's my beautiful art pad? There we go. All right, so here's the scenario. Let me lay a little bit of background for it. Hey, Robo, what's up, man? Dude, doing good, man. Doing really awesome. Had a great day. Had a family reunion today. Got to see everybody and hang out. It was really good. Okay, so for everybody who just popped in over on the awesome Griffin stream, let me lay down some stuff for you. So what we've got is we have a Linux machine. We found an exploit in GLPI, and by found I mean it's a CVE. We used it. We used that to bleed out some LDAP credentials because this machine is joined to an Active Directory environment. So cool. That gave us access to a machine called Sunfire. And the way we bled it out is we used what's called a blind time-based SQL injection. So we were able to very slowly pull all the information out by doing that. Great. So once we got all that, then we were actually able to log in to LX01, which is also known as Cyrax. The whole thing is kind of Game of Active Directory themed, or Game of Thrones themed. So once we got into Cyrax, we're not a very privileged user. However, there's a flaw in how this particular Linux implementation called, do I have it in here? SSSD, this guy right here. There's a flaw in the way it handles Kerberos tickets and how it maps those tickets to user accounts, right? So on our machine, let me bring that up. Where is it? Here we go. So like on our machine, right, we have a root user account. Boop, right there. Just a very simple, yes, we have a root user account. And what we did is there's a flaw, not really a flaw, there's a default feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature in Windows that allows any user account by default to join up to 10 computers to the account. And you can do very funny things with those computer accounts. So that is the account that a physical computer should in theory be using to talk to Active Directory. So what we did is we just made our own. So we just did that here. So here you see that like our Sunfire account, we went and checked and it has, oh wait, that's the wrong one. Hang on, let me go up a little bit more. Bring it up more. There we go. So the machine account quota was 10, meaning we could use Sunfire to go register a computer to it. Or we could actually just use a Python script to go through and make a fake computer account. And that's what we did. So we registered a computer named root right here. And we got it registered. They actually show up as root $, and we have a randomly generated password. Cool, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now the kicker comes in here in how SSSD and MIT Kerberos actually handle accounts that end with a $sign. A lot of times what will happen is it will strip off that $sign whenever it receives it inside the Kerberos ticket. So what we're going to do is, let's see, we just did that part there. So we already have this computer account created. So what we're getting ready to do is, and actually we already did this. Here, let me bring this up. Too much. I'm failing, hang on. There we go. Where is it? So what we did is we actually went and got our TGT. You know what? I've got to explain this because I know there's folks that I've explained it many times on the stream before, but it's always good to kind of revisit it. So there's 3 phases when it comes to actually working with Kerberos tickets. They're not as complex as you think. There's some complexity in the background, but the overall flow is very straightforward. So the first thing you have to get is a TGT, a ticket granting ticket, a ticket to make other tickets. But if you think about it, a TGT is really just like an identity file. It's akin to like having a cryptographically secured password. So it's an identity, right? If you have somebody's TGT, it's just like you are them. You can impersonate them. The next step here is you want to get a TGS here. So the TGS is basically, think of this as like the who. This is the what right here. And the TGS is, I want to talk to a host. I can't, right? Host plus some service on that host. So by talking to the 2 of them together, what you'll do is you'll send the TGT back up to the domain controller or the KDC and tell it, hey, by the way, here's my TGT. I would like to access this service on this machine over here. And then it sends back the TGS. So we request the TGT using our password or some other authentication. Then we use the TGT to get the TGS. And then the third step here is actually just accessing it. And so what you do is you send that TGS over to the target, whatever you're trying to talk to in there. There's my target. And then that's how you actually get your access to it. Hang on. Excuse me. Coughing the head off. So that's how all this stuff is going to work. So there's a mismatch here in this phase with the TGT and how it's processing it. So we're going to send it a ticket with a username of, let's see, root and a $sign in here. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to read this and probably strip out the $sign. Then what happens? We've just provided a Kerberos ticket that effectively lets it think that we are root on that system. Boom. So that's what we're going to do to escalate on this. Okay. Puck? I'm going to go with Puck. Hey, Puck, thanks for coming online, dude. Appreciate it. Bingo, bangle, bungo. That's right. Crazy sleight of hand shenanigans to impersonate the machine accounts. Yeah. That's actually pretty cool. I have not seen this particular one. So it's called if you want to look it up, it's called a Kerberos $sign ticket attack. So let me clear this out. So we already did our request for this, right? I'm going to do it again. Here we go. So if I look at this, that wasn't good. Hang on. Root.cache. This is a Ccache file. So what we're going to do, if we want to impersonate this, we will go through and we'll do export KRB5 CC name. So this is a special environment variable that's used to accept that. Now there's one thing we want to do though. We want to do like the full path over to this. So I'm going to go home root Kali Dracarys root.ccache. I want to make sure that it knows exactly where that file lives. You could put like a relative identifier in here. I've had trouble with that in the past. I always want to put like the full file path in here. I'm going to change my tag to mod dollar. So we're going to take the invalid character out and hello, Mr. Mod. That's right. That's how you become a mod on the stream, Bobby. Or a monkey. Yeah. That's thinking outside. That's thinking with portals there, monkey. I approve. All right, so now hold on, let me check something because there's a very particular way we have to do this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to SSH over to hang on. That's netexec. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it like this. But there's a very particular option we have to use here, which is we're going to use this, the GSS API authentication, true. So this option means we can use Kerberos authentication. And then what we want to do is we want to connect to root at, and now because this is a Kerberos thing, you have to use FQDNs. I don't know. Let me try something real quick, actually. I want to try it by IP address. I don't think it's going to work. In Windows land, you would have to do this. But, all right, so that's 10.4.10.12. I want to try this, 10.4.10.12. Normally, when working with Kerberos tickets, you want to use, like, fully qualified domain names in there. Permission denied. What? What? Hold on. Am I missing something in here? Oh, wait. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me try this again. Cyrax.Dracarys.lab. Let me try this. Maybe that's the difference here. Hey, there we go. So this is what I was talking about. A lot of times when you're dealing with Kerberos tickets, 99% of the time, trying to do it by IP address, it doesn't work. It's expecting like DNS resolvable host names in there. So do I want to continue? Yes, I do. Let's see. Did it not accept that? Oh, you suck. Let me see. Hold on. Did I export that correctly? Let me make sure I've got this real quick. So that should be good. And then our SSH command. Yeah, we should just need... Let me make sure I'm not missing something real quick in here. No, hold on. I had that in a different window. Stand by. Let's see. In this case, they're doing it with something different. I like the overlay thing. Thanks, man. Dude, I had a lot of fun with it. Actually, oh, I don't know if you guys saw it. Hang on. I got to show you something real quick. I changed something. Hang on. Let me see if I can do something real quick here. Hang on. Because I changed the animation. I want to see what you guys think. Where is it?
Welcome, agent.
Oh, dang it. I didn't load the new overlay. Damn it. I was testing it. Son of a... I forgot to upload it to the system. It starts shooting like sparks, and they're like little hex digits that fly across the screen whenever the buffer overflows now. Damn it. I forgot to load that up. I tested it. It works. However, the overlay is still loading the old one. Crap. All right. That's my bad. Damn. I need to fix that. Yeah, I'll fix it tonight after the stream. All right, hang on. Let me double check and make sure I'm not missing something in here. Let me try something real quick. Let's make sure our TGT is good here. So, we came through and we exported it, right? Let's make sure we can use that real quick. Maybe because of the way I messed it up. Oh, you know what? That's going to piss me off if I did that. Let's see if I can do... Let me check something here. Okay, so the FQDN is still dracarys.lab in here. It's still showing up as root.dracarys.lab. Okay, so even though we had the typo in there, everything still looks good. Let me see if I can do something else. I think you can... K-list. Hold on, what is it? K-list should be the command, right? Let me see. Actually, that's the Windows command. Let me see. Hang on, I'm trying to figure out what the... Yeah, it should be K-list. I don't have it in there. Hold on. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, app search K-list. Oh, there's so much crap in here. Of course there is. What's the one I need for K-list, though? K-list Kerberos command install. What's that package called? KRB5 user. That's what it is. All right, let me install that. KRB5 user. We'll just leave that alone. Okay, do I have K-list now? Hey, I do. So yeah, okay, so our principle does work. Root at dracarys.lab. Okay. So we should be good there. Let me see. And yeah, actually notice how the principle is root at dracarys.lab, even though when we did the request here. Oh wait, shouldn't that have been root $? Hold on, is that where I've messed this up? No, it should just been root. Yeah, we should be good there. Because of the way it interprets that. Okay. Yeah, that should be it right there. Okay. Let me see. I think we should be able to use this with netexec. Let me see. Netexec SSH tac H. Let's see. Let's see. Here's our authentication options. ID, CRUD ID. There we go. So we want TAC K in there. Use Kerberos authentication. That's it. So I think we want these two together. TAC K and TAC use K cache. Let's do... Hold on, I gotta remember the structure real fast. Oh, the commands I want to remember. No! Damn it. Here we go. Perfect, so we can do that. So we'll do TAC K and then TAC use K cache. That should work. And I don't know if we need to specify a user for that. Maybe TAC U root. Let's try that. We shouldn't have to specify a password. Did I get that wrong? Let's see. Oh, I did user K cache instead of use K cache. That's the smart. Let me make sure this one works, so I can compare the output. I mean, so that worked. Let's see if I understood all of the steps correctly. Let me try something else real quick. Do I need to add a $sign onto the end of this? And I'm gonna re-request the root one. So now we got a root and we got a root dollar in here. So we've got one for both in here. Do you need to specify the user? Shouldn't that be in the C cache? It should. And that's what I wanted to look real quick. Okay, now if I do root dollar. I think Klist is just doing whatever we've got exported. So hang on. Export, let me do like that. And then now do a Klist. Yeah, so this is showing it as root dollar in here. I tell you what, let's do one more thing right here. Let's go do, let's see, TGT. Let's make sure we've got this kind of working correctly with Sunfire. And everything's working independently. So let me come back over to Creds. Let's grab Sunfire's password here. Actually, we could just grab this whole thing. Let's grab this. Let's go get a ticket for Sunfire. Okay. And then let's do an export. And what we'll do is we'll grab Sunfire's ticket right there. And then we'll verify it with Klist real quick. All right. Default principal Sunfire should be good. All right. NXC SSH. There we go. And then, yes, so what we'll do here is we'll leave this as Sunfire, but then we're going to put in tac K, and then tac use Kcache. Okay, let me check out this use Kcache. Maybe that's not what we need to do. All right, hold on. Another thing we can do. TAC-O. There we go. Let's change this over to Sunfire. Let's see if we get Sunfire. Because we have, last thing we exported is Sunfire's Kcache, right? So that is Sunfire's TGT. That's proving who we are. So why is this still requesting a password when we do this? Hold on, someone had suggested doing a combination of the two here. So hang on. Let me try something real quick. So if I combine these two here. So if I put in just a fake password, it's still failing in here. Hold on. How do we check if GSS API authentication is enabled on the server? Let's see. Check if SSH supports GSS API. Let's see. Where can we check this in? So this should be in our Etsy SSHD config. I think we can read that. Let's go check it out real quick. So then what we're looking for is, I think it's GSS API authentication. Actually, hold on. Okay, we can actually just run that to double check it. Let's do that real quick. Shell for that. Okay, yeah, we see GSS API authentication set to yes. So we should be able to present Kerberos tickets. Also, dumbass, what's up, dude? Welcome in and hope you're having a super awesome, stupendous Saturday. I don't know. Imagine I just said some really awesome S adjectives with a great alliteration and excellent rhythm and timing, and then that. I just need you to imagine that for me. Hang on. So maybe this is, let's see. Hold on. Let me look at this. Let's see. GSS API with Kerberos ticket still asking for password. So verify a client TGT, run klist to ensure a valid TGT exists. If missing, run kinit. Enable client GSS API. Oh, maybe our SSH server actually doesn't have it. Maybe our SSH client isn't supporting it. Hang on. Maybe that's it. Boom. Okay. Let's see. What are they? Let's see here. So they had to enable GSS API authentication, clean up credentials. We already know they got that in working. All right, configure the SSH client. So we're going to verify ticket forwarding. Do we need to do that? I don't know. Let's go check it out real quick. Hold on. According to this, we might just be able to add this over to our SSH conf. So let's do that. Actually, yeah, hold on. What do we have to do for time in here? Dang it. How did I do that? Ah, there we go. That's what it was. That could also have been throwing it off in here. Although we would have gotten a TGT error, I think, if that was the case. But should be good. Who's that? Oh, hey, Cankles. What's up, dude? And Ford. I like think I'm getting more smart instead of the box being easy. That's right. Oh, sorry. I missed your other message there. Today's been pretty good, minus the disappointing Hack the Box release. Should have been rated easy. Yeah, maybe you are just getting, like, smarter instead of the boxes getting easier. Do you ever think about it like that? Let's see. So I wonder if that is going to fix our SSH problem. I don't know if it's going to or not. So I think the problem is actually maybe on our client side here, is that's what it's doing. Yeah, because from everything I can see, that should have worked, unless there's an error with like what we're doing on our side. Let me look at something real quick, yeah? Let me see. So let's double check. Let's do a little bit of here. So we got that. Actually, hold on. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. DGT. I'm going to get a new one for root right here. Bam. So we got that. And then for our export, so this is right here. They dropped it as root C cache. We export it. We do a K list. Everything looks good. SSH tech. Oh. There we go. Let me take this out again. I'm going to try this one more time. Why? Because banging my head against the wall is like what I do. Yeah, so it's still requesting the password, even though we've done that. Let me copy this real quick. Yeah, that really is a great username. I'm surprised they let you have that. All right, so why is this not working? The only thing that makes sense is that something on our client side is not forwarding that over. Unless maybe we need to go request a TGS ticket? Like, do we need to request a TGS for, like, SSH at Cyrax? But nobody has mentioned actually needing to go get a TGS. Oh, I just realized I needed to let Peaches out a minute ago, and then Griffin came in and raided. Hang on one sec, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. And no, I was not pooping. Peaches is pooping. No, it's not. Letting Peaches out is not a euphemism. She came over earlier and she was like dying. And she's like, I gotta go out. And then I realized like, oh wait, if I don't go find her right now, I'm gonna find little Peaches nuggets in my house. No, 57. It is not. No. So, hey, Alan, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you're having a stupendous Saturday. She's such a funny little dog, too. When I'm playing with the kids, like roughhousing with them, because I have, they got 2 boys, right? So roughhousing kind of goes with the territory. And I can never tell if she'll start barking and like bouncing around, like, and I don't know if she wants to play along or if she's like yelling at me in her little brain, like, no, don't hurt the tiny humans. I don't know. I can't get a good read on like what her emotional state is when I'm roughhousing with the boys. I tend to think that it's leaning towards, this is awesome, we are playing, I want to play too. But I can't say that for certain. She's about that life, she wants to join in. I know, she's funny. I had tile floors in the kitchen, and so she'll come in there and she'll just be like hovering around my ankles in case I drop something when I'm in the kitchen. So what I'll do is like, I'll reach down and like, she has no traction. So I just spin her in a circle. And then she tries to lay down and she's like, ha, you can't push me now. I'm off my feet. I was like, no, your fur's pretty slick. And I just keep pushing her. Hang on. I'm still here. I'm just going to turn the camera off for a second while I pop some pills. All right. Take my bedtime pills so I can get some good sleep tonight. Still working off my sleep debt. Wait, do I need to actually specify with like SSH TAC K? No way. Really? Yeah, still asking for it right there. What is KVNO? Oh, somebody asked if I have a thing called KVNO. Let's see. What does KVNO do? Let's see. Hold on. What am I doing here? Hold on. Let's just look at the man page. Print key version numbers of Kerberos principles. Oh. KVNO acquires a service ticket for the specified Kerberos principle and prints out the version numbers for each. Okay. So I think what we do is host access to cyrax.drakaryis.lab. Can't find KDC for realm Dracars.lab while getting credentials for host /cyrax at lab at MIT. What? What? I've never. What does this mean? Let me see. K-list. What do we got here? So, I mean, the K-list looked correct, right? It doesn't have the misspelling, even though I did the misspelling. Dracarys, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so all of that looks legit. I just don't know where that error is coming from. Yeah, we did add the GSS API to the SH config. However, I think that client config is, I think there's two parts to that, and I think I skipped one of the parts. I think we have to go set it up in the KRB5 config. Weird, because nobody else has mentioned having to do this, but let's go look at something real quick. Vim, Etsy, KRB5 conf. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All these random ass realms in here. I think that's why. Why do I have all these random ass realms in this KRB5 configuration? I thought that's what I tried 44. Hang on. Let me bust out of here. That was the last time I tried it. Let's see. Here, let me take this part off. We'll try it with just TAC K. Yeah. Yeah, so I tried it. Didn't like it. Let me see. TAC K. Okay, so TAC-K enables the GSS API authentication and forwarding. Oh, that's an easier way to even do that. So it's doing the same thing as like the TAC-O, but that's what we did. Are you using the NXC made KRB5 conf? Wait, NXC can make you a KRB5 conf? Because this is the default one, and I'm wondering if it didn't just install that here. I wonder if it didn't just go install all these realms whenever we did that. Default, oh, this is probably why. Default realm Athena MIT EDU. You might need to do KINIT with username at realm and then connect via SSH using SSH TACO. Okay. I didn't know you could do that, Mr. Dumas. Hang on, let me look at that. NXC KRB5 comp. This is the only way I've used Kerberos with NXC is using this real quick. Let's see. There's username password. Oh, okay. Maybe I was doing it wrong. Maybe I need to use Kcache for this. Hold on, let me go try this again real quick then. Let's see. NetExec. Hold on, what was the example they did here? They did use Kcache. Okay, hold on, let me just try that. We'll take out Sunfire. And it's, yeah, TAC use Kcache. Let me try that real quick. Well, they're doing it with SMB, even though in theory it might work with SSH, but hold on, how do they, let me see here. Generating host file, let's see. I didn't know it could do this. Let's see. So if you're in a lab with no DNS resolution, you can use generate host file to generate a host file and avoid DNS problems when using LDAP. Ooh, sexy. Oh, cool, I've been doing that by hand. Generate curb5conf. Okay, all right. Let's see. Password, generate KRB5conf path, and then export KRB5conf path. Oh, what? What do we got here? Okay. So what they're doing is they're running netexec. They're using generate KRB5conf to temp KRB5conf2. Then they export that as their KRB5conf. And then they do a KNet for, Senor Dumas. I believe you have come up with something special here. What do we got here? Okay. Does it matter which user we use? Hold on. So here he cats it. Let's see. So the realm Essos. Oh, he's using Game of Active Directory. Sick. Okay. All right, hang on. Let's do that. Let's see. NXC. SMB. Hold on. What do we do with this one? Yeah, he did it with SMB here. Hold on. Clear. Page down. Let's see. NXC. NXC SMB. Why do you hate me? Why do you hate me so much? NXC SSH. Why is nothing coming back? NetExec SMB. Okay, here we go. So it looks like he was targeting the DC. So this would be I don't remember what it is. It's like 10.4.10.10. And then what we'll use here is curb5 comp file. And then we'll just put that here. Ah, you suck. Path to the comp file. Okay. Let's see. KRB5 comp. Hey, there we go. All right, let's look at that real quick. Vim KRB5 comp. Nice. Okay. All right. Cool. So then now let's export that. So we export KRB5. Learning new stuff every day. Config. All right. KRB5 config is going to equal, let's see, home, Cali, Dracarys, KRB5 comp. Boop. And now, in theory, what we should be able to do is go do a KNet for root right there. Actually, you know what? I just want to try the SSH command. I'm going to try this again because we should already have that set up in there. Suck. Let me try this again. Root at dracarys.lab. Yeah, that's a cool trick to know. Especially like whenever you're just dealing with a lot of Kerberos from Linux. Okay, so hold on. Cat krb5.conf. So in this case, it did it as uppercase dracarys.lab. No, that should be fine. Hold on, I did do the export, right? KRB5 config. KNet, in this case, it's looking for esos.local. So hold on, let me try this with an uppercase then. Maybe that's what it wants. Except I typed in the wrong thing. There we go. Password for root. Okay, so let me go grab the password. Here we are. Did we not get any output from that? I guess not. K-list. Okay, so we've got a new one in here. Should be good. And then hold on, let me try something else real quick. Ah, damn it. Let me try it with these uppercase right here. Let me put this all uppercase if for some reason it wants that. Dracarys.lab. Still asking for it, man. Yeah, host file should be good because we've been using it for forever. Yeah, so we've already got Cyrax, Vagar, and Valerian. There's only the 3 machines in here. So we've already got those kind of all set up. Let me look at this KRB5 conf again real quick. So default realm looks good. DNS lookup for KDC. I think that should be okay. Curious if... Okay, well, let's go try it real quick. Let's see. I think it is it just generate host file? Let me go back. Hosts file. It needs plural. Let's get that real quick. Oh, in this case, they had that go. I see what's happening here. So they had it go against a list of IP addresses, right? And then they did it. So it's doing kind of the same thing, except in this case, it's doing them like all uppercase, right? So yeah, let me show you the screenshot again. So what they're doing here. Hey, Kawa, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. I hope you're having a stupendous Saturday. Yeah, because what they're doing is they're doing netexec, giving it the protocol, and then you can actually put in a particular IP address, a host name, or a file containing either of those two variables. That command appends the file. Oh, well, fancy. Let me try something. Okay, well, hold on. Let's go try this real quick then. Let me just fire 11. We'll let this go. And then I'm going to fire 12 onto it. And 12 is going to fail because 12 doesn't have SMB. But you know what we can do is we can change that to SSH. Okay, so that only works with those other ones in there. But let me see what it actually made real quick. Okay, I see what it's doing in here. I'm curious, though. Let me try something real quick. I don't know if these are case sensitive. Let's see. Etsy hosts. Let's just drop these in here. And that's what we'll format Cyrax the kind of the same way in here. Bring those back. Okay. So we had this Cyrax.dracarius.lab, and then we also had Cyrax. What is going on here? Hold on. Oh wait, Cyrax. I'm an idiot. There we go. Ping Cyrax. Okay, cool. So even if those are uppercase, it still resolves it. All right, that shouldn't affect it. Oh, you know what? You know what? No, that should have been fine because we used an FQD in here. Yeah. Hold on, let me go back to this. I think there's something maybe we're missing in this Caribou 5.1. Let me check something real quick. Let's see. I want to see if these resolve correctly in here. So let me try Valerian.dracarius.lab. Okay, so that resolved just fine. And then what if I just try Dracarys.lab? That resolves just fine. So all these things should have resolved in here. So DNS lookup for the KDC, false. Default realm, Dracarys.lab, that should be fine. DNS lookup realm. Hold on, somebody was actually making, I had something else I was reading. Let me see. This part looks fine. DNS lookup realm false. Let me take that out. Default realm, that looks okay. I'm gonna just move it up here. Let's see. So don't look up the DNS. Let me try another one in here. Let's see. DNS. Hold on. I'm actually just gonna copy this from this other thing I'm reading here. Someone else suggested this. Canonicalize host name, false, and then also someone's this other thing I was looking at said RDNS, false. So the rest of this I think looks fine. Admin server, KDC. Okay, let me try this again. So KVNO host Cyrax Dracarys. Okay, so that should be good. K-list, we have a one for host Dracarys. Okay, so then this should work. So let me go through this again real quick. So KVNO is working. Our K-list shows that we have one for it. And then, but this is still asking for a password right there. So what are we missing real quick? So we had that configured in here. Yeah. So we had, here's our file, and we had it exported. Let me run through it one more time here. Kayla's still showing it. Is the idea behind all this Game of Thrones naming here referring to this will end in disaster? I guess that depends on if they're going based on the books or the TV show. Check out the Etsy Curve 5 comp. Okay. Sock brought me tea. Thank you, sweetie. She likes to play this game. She's very stealthy. Like, if we were in D&D, I'd be the tank, and she'd be the rogue, like 100%. And so she just tries to see how close she can get the coffee cup to, like, the edge of my vision before I notice.
What's a rogue?
What's a rogue? Like a stealthy, like dagger wielding, backstabbing fighter.
I'm not a dagger wielding backstabbing fighter.
But you are very stealthy. Yeah. Hey, Sock. She might have gone to the other room. Yeah. By the way, someone in the chat wanted to remind you that rogues do it from behind.
I'm gonna ignore
Well, I'm sorry I brought up the contentious relationship between the books and the TV show. I know. I gave up on the Game of Thrones book series at A Feast for Crows because he added a whole new continent, and I was listening to them on audiobook. And I was like, dude, I cannot keep a spreadsheet in the freaking car to keep track of all these characters. But there's a funny lady, Elizabeth Wheeler, I think is her name. She's an author, and she makes kind of funny short videos talking about books and stuff. And she's like, the ultimate book curse is, may your enemies be fans of A Song of Ice and Fire and the King Killer Chronicles. And I am a fan of the King Killer Chronicles, and I've been waiting for the third book for 14 years. No. Yeah, 14 years. And so I was like, oh, I felt that one in my chest. I'm never getting the third book. I don't know what Patrick Rothfuss is doing. I hope he's doing well, and I hope part of that wellness is finishing the third book. Hackers do it with all sorts of different characters. One of my favorite ones also was thespians do it on stage. If this was based on the books, it's suggesting that you'll probably die before finishing. Yeah, right. Hold on, somebody suggested checking out the Etsy Curve 5 comp. Okay. So the Etsy Curve 5 conf is still in here, but we're not using it, right? We can tell that because K-List and KVNO are coming back properly. Because when we know it's not using this one because in K-List, right? KVNO let us use our TGT to go get a service ticket from the domain controller for the host service on Cyrax. What if this is... Hold on. I've seen dumber things. What if this just needs to be lowercase here? Nope, that's still doing it too. Let me try the... hold on. 44 was like, hey, I swear TAC K will work. So... Okay, all those are kind of failing in here too. Let's hold on. Let's turn some verbosity up in here. Hang on. Let's get some verboseness in here, which I hate because it's a lot to dig through. Okay. Oh my god, it's so much. There's so much in here. Can I turn this down? And Let me try something real quick. Let's see. SSH debug. It didn't get any of it, you bastard. Okay, cool. So that gave me the information there. So let's go open that up real quick. Let's see. SSH debug. Let's see if we can figure out like what this is doing here. I'm actually gonna work this backwards here real quick. Okay. So it's trying to do public key. Oh yeah, Bobby. I was like, what do you mean what's giving? Oh, then I realized, yeah, you had sent that just for it. So yeah, let's see if we can debug this a little bit here. So we sent a GSS API with a MEC packet waiting for reply. Received packet type 51. Authentication that can continue is public key, GSS API, key exchange, GSS API with MIC and password. Okay. Unspecified GSS failure, minor code may provide more information. No such file or directory. So what does that mean? Nah, stop. There we go. Hold on. Mouse is getting squirrely on me. Check K-List TAC F. All right, let's go do that. I've never done GSS authentication with it before. So clearing the Kerberos cache and generating a new ticket may be the proper way. All right, let's do that. Hold on. The way we did this before, was with basically get TGT, like this. And that should save it as root. And then if I do a klist, it should reference already the root C cache file. And see, now we had 2 tickets before. Now we've nuked one of them, and then we've got it back. Let me, let's see. CC name. Let me unset this. Maybe we could just K in it in here. Okay, and then hold on. Let me make sure that it's actually unset. I'm an idiot. Yeah, so nothing in there. So then, what happens if I do K in it? K in it, root at stuff. Okay, password for root. Let me go grab that. Let's see if we can, if we do this by like using the actual all proper stuff. Wait, that's the wrong password. Here we go. Hang on, I want to do something real quick. Make this a little simple. Speed. Root. So I'm gonna have to copy all this crap anyway. Here we go. Let me pull this up here. There we go. All right. Okay. Klist. Let's see. KVNO. Let's see. We get that, and then klist again. So all the ticket stuff is working correctly. But this is the part that's kind of like tripping me up. I don't know. Let's try the SSH again. Okay, we got that. But now we should have an updated copy of that file. So reload. We're still getting this right here. This like unspecified GSS failure right here. Oh, did I just do something? What am I doing? Stop it! Stop it! What's happening here? Oh! Mr. Dumas, thanks for coming online, man. Let me check something. What does this error actually mean? So do a grep-c on the var lib and make sure that's included. So that's the killer part right here, right? So if we come back over here, we exported to actually set that up, right? Hold on. Export. So we're actually using this krb5conf, and we know it has to be working because if I unset this, right? Let me unset this real quick. And then if I did another K in it, right? Can't find KDC realm. So then if I reset it, and then I did K in it, then it did work, right? So we know we're using the Dracarys KRB5 that we kicked out of NXC because Dumas told us about that, but we modified it a little bit. What's the clock skew? We went through and we updated the clock here. NTP update. Clock skew should be nil right now. All right, let me go check what Bobby was talking about. For grins and giggles. So the varlib SSS pubconf doesn't seem to be including that. Is that what I'm seeing here? This is count in this file, or no, count how, excuse me, count how many times this appears in this file, right? Oh, there was a clock skew error in the SSH log. Wait, did I miss that? Let me see. Clock skew too great? Oh. Oh. Epistemic. Look at you with the sharp eyes. I completely missed that. I was stuck on this part down here. Ooh. Okay. The clock skew shouldn't be. I know, man, that's some sharp eyes too, because like I guess because of this I completely missed it. Hold on. Let's go try this again. Let's do another little NTP update. And then so all this should be working. Hold on. K-list again. All this is good. SSH. Okay, it's still coming back. Hold on, let's go check something real quick. What's the date on here? What is the date on our server right here? So this is reading May 31st at 03:36 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But we're reading... Oh, so the clock on the server is off. So maybe we need to sync up the time on the Linux server. All right, hang on. Is this up still? Okay. Local user. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Okay, hold on. Sudo tac I. Okay, so local user is set up as like ultimate root user in here too. Okay. Let's see. Do we have NTP? How do I update? Let's see. Update clock NTP on Ubuntu. Because this should be linked over to the server. Let me check something real quick. Let's do system CTL. This is basically local user is a backdoor account into this box, so we can go check stuff like this. Let me check the status of what is it? System D's nuts times sync service. Do I have time date control in here? Let me go check something else real quick. Hang on. So this is saying this for time date control. Let me come back over here. Actually, make a new one right here. Time date control. Here we go. So we're showing that it is 5:31 at 02:38 UTC. The server is showing, hold on, I'm clicking on all the wrong stuff here. This is showing that it's 5:31 07:38 UTC. So yeah, there's a 5-hour time skew happening here. See that? So that's, I think, the problem here is that somehow Sunfire got out of whack. Hold on. Hang on one second. I'm asking Grok how to check this. All right, so on. Status, let's see, NTP service active. Okay. All right, I don't think that's the correct command though. Of course, now it's like, hey, just install timesync D. I'm like, you can timesync D's nuts. I really hate modifying the server like this, but you know what? Okay, now... Okay, so now it's showing 0341 UTC, and then on our side, so it's still off by an hour. See that? Wait, hold on. Did I look at that correctly? Let me just come back here. The RTC time... That's weird. So on Cyrax, the RTC and UTC time are correct. Oh, I wonder if the server's not respecting daylight savings time. Let's see. RTC local TZ yes. Let me see. Let's see. It's syncing and time is. I think. Let me see. So this is, where's the one for Sunfire? You never thought you'd be like troubleshooting clock skews and crap. This, believe it or not, if you ever are using Kerberos on Linux systems, this is the kind of crap that you'll come across amazingly often. Yeah, time skew is the real end boss. Yeah, you're not joking, Bobby. Hang on. Let me see. Restart time sync D. And then now give me the status. Hold on, this is weird. Let me check something real quick here. So on our side, this is what we're seeing. And then what we're seeing over here on Sunfire is now... Let me bring this up a little bit so I can double check something here. So we restarted time sync D, and then everything kind of came back into here. But then after we checked it, came back to like this. What I'm wondering is, hold on. So now we're seeing the UTC time is now 0343. On ours, we're seeing it's 0243. So now the UTC and the RTC are now like not showing up like this. Fucking time skew, man. Got me cussing. Okay, so now RTC is showing 0245, 0245, and then wasn't showing up on the server. I might have just busted the whole lab up by doing this. Let's see. Let's see if I can find something real quick here. Trying to get these to all sync up. We better use fake time. Well, we actually really need it to... We need it to be NTP'd over to the server, which it should be, right? What was that command I did? Let me bring this over here. Oh man, time skew. Frickin' time skew. Okay. Okay, so now this one's showing 0247. That's Cali. And then Sunfire, or Cyrax, what are you showing? Like, they're not even close. So hold on. So this one says our NTP service is active, right? We're just going to reboot the server. Maybe it will fix the time. It should reboot really fast. In theory, what should happen is all these machines should actually kind of be setting their hardware clocks from the server clock. But I think the server clock, because the BIOS battery is kind of weak on this computer, is a little bit funky. I should probably just go bust it open and put the new coin battery in there. But then after that, they should also not really care, and they should be doing network time protocol to the domain controller. Okay. Local user is password. There we go. And then... it's not going to pull it up. Time, date, control, status. All right, what time are you showing now? Okay, so now you're showing 0349 to everything. All right, cool. Can we get ours to, like, not be a turd? Okay, let's set that back to 0, and then... Why the hell is this still off by an hour? What the hell is going on? I think the server is correct. What's UTC time right now? Hang on. Yeah, so it should be 0351 UTC time. That should be correct. Why the hell is Cali off by an hour? It's got daylight savings time. Ugh. So we set local time RTC to 0. All right. All right, so what's this going on? I think the NTB service is inactive. Let's check it real quick. Let's see, sudo system CTL, and then what is this? Let's see, status system. Is it systemd time? Time date service. There we go. Okay, good call. I don't ever usually use that. I usually disable it and then I let it do its thing. Ta-da! There we go. All right, so that should be synced up now. My goodness, if that was it, I'm gonna be pissed. Oh, you know what? That might have just broken K in it, though. Hang on. Let me get a new TGT since we've had time drift happening here. Curb session auth, curb app error, clock skew, too great. So now our clocks are... So now we're off from the domain controller. All right, let me look at something real quick. Etsy system D. Timesync D conf. All right, I think I need to go change this. Pseudo vim. There we go. So this would be 10.4.10.10. All right, so if I run that, and then I think I need to restart this. And then if we check the status, I love clock secures because it's either 5 seconds or like 5 hours. You're not even joking, man. It's like, it can't just be anything minimal. It's not like, oh, you're off by like, 20 seconds or something. It's okay, bro. No, it's like, you're off by 37 years. All right, this is wild. Hang on, let me go check. So let's go look on Cyrax real quick. No, that's not what I wanted. I want, let's see. There we go. And then let me vim Etsy system D's nuts timesync comp. No, undo that. Time date CTL status. Yeah, so I already restarted it. It looks like it's showing correctly. So the method, this pisses me off so bad. I just realized we're at the end of the effing stream. And the whole time it's just been, this looks like this would all work. And the clocks are like, not on my watch. Yeah. Clock skew is the Dark Souls of using Kerberos on Linux. It is. All right, hold on. Let me check something real quick here. I think I restarted the wrong one. This should be timesync D. So if I restart timesync D and check the status, it hasn't really changed very much. Restart again, you bastard. You son of a peach. Could use a fake time command to get the TGT from the DC and then not for them. Well, I could, except this should all be working in here. I tell you what, let's add something to this real quick. Add a remote desktop connection. This will be DC01 Valerian. Computer name 10.4.10.10. And then yeah, click OK. Hang on. Let's see. Local user. Now I'm really glad we have this backdoor account happening in here. I'll be your backdoor man. Okay. Let's see. So for some reason, this is just about right. At least according to like the clock I've got on here. I feel bad for derailing the stream from some fun red teaming to boring sysop time shit. No, I mean, this is also, it's a good learning lesson for people to be aware. I'm probably going to go back through and pull out key pieces of information from these videos, and I'll do a walkthrough of the Dracarys lab, like explaining each of the steps as it goes through for YouTube, just because I think it's a fun thing. And this is actually one of the big pitfalls I run across. And yeah, this is like normal. This isn't just AD lab stuff though. This is like normal stuff I'd run into like on a live penetration test, is like dealing with freaking clock skew, man. It's such a pain. The side questing will continue until intelligence improves, which, knowing me, it's going to be a long time. Okay. I don't get this, because, oh wait, we're showing that this is Eastern Daylight Time. This one is in EDT. See that? So yeah, it's off by an hour. God, I hate you, Windows, so much. Wait, hold on. This is showing that it's in EDT also. That it's at UTC -5, but that's not... But... No! No! Why you do this? Stop it! So this is saying that it's 11:03, like, local time. But we're showing that it's midnight local time. This is the correct Eastern Daylight Time, meaning the clock is, like, completely off on here. So it's trying to connect to timed out windows through all this stuff. Yeah. Still sponsored by SOC for 14 years now. Damn. I am two entirely new people. If you're working under the assumption that every cell in your body gets replaced every 7 years, go with it. I know it's not accurate. Then I am two whole new people since I have been married. All right, so time sync is obviously not working. What if I turn that off? Nope, don't want that. Change date time format? No. God, I hate you, Windows. Your React interface is bad and you should feel bad. Hold on, I'm gonna get this freaking clock skew if I have to stay on a little bit late. Suck, Windows. Let's use Google's NTP server. I don't know, can I even use Google's NTP server? Let me see. NS, look up. I mean, that's working. What about like pool.ntp.com? Oh, it's ntp.org. Let's try that one. Man. And then it's just gonna hang out here. Micro slop, you make my soul hurt with your slop. And like, I can't even.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Hey, Gumby, what's up, dude? I've been meaning to message you to check in on you, man. I apologize. I got to talk to you in a few days. While this is thinking and failing, because microslop be microslopping. I just got like new stuff all like dumped on me at work. It's a very big rush job. Let me try pool.ntp.org. Will that work? I'm glad to hear that, man. Also, Ken, what's up, dude? The ship of Theseus. Wait, hold on. What was the ship of Theseus? Hold on. I know I should know that. Oh, that was the that's the ship where like the king went and killed the Minotaur, right? Like we're facing the Minotaur right now. This is at the center of the labyrinth. Can we just? Why do you suck so bad, Max? And like it just fucks up this modal right here, right? How can you be so bad at this, Windows? All right, hold on. What if I fake this? What if I change this to Central Time? No, that puts it an hour in the wrong direction. Oh, that's what would happen if you replaced everything in a ship philosophy question. So if you replaced all parts of a ship one by one, can you say it's still the same ship at the end? That's true. It is the same ship. They have become part of the new ship. All right, let me change this back here. Some of these settings are managed by organization. All right, I need to... Hey, Rabbit, what's up, dude? I just built a Ryzen 9900X 3D with an RTX 5080. Nice. 24-hour stream. No, we're not doing a 24-hour stream. Let me double check something on the Proxmox server. So this has got it correct. However, it's assuming the wrong time zone. That's what's throwing it off by an hour in here. No, you're terrible. Hold on. Location settings. Off. Yes. Go back. It's assuming let me turn this off. It's assuming that no, now you're even worse off. What are you doing? Oh, wait, hold on. That's for daylight savings time. That's correct. Hold on. No. I want... How do I change the time zone? We're gonna figure this shit out tonight. Hey, what's up? Thank you for coming online and for getting everybody in check. What's up? What's up? Got you all in check. That is some very, very old. That is a very old rap song, and I just knew the rapper's name, and I'm drawing a blank on it. Oh man, it's actually technically Woo-Ha, got you all in check, but still, it worked out. It worked out well for that. Shit, what is his name? I'm drawing such a blank on it. Hold on one second. For Kerberos. Oh no, Gumby.
RNO Gumby cheered 5 bits and says, "The Twin Towers ordered a pepperoni pizza but got planed."
I don't know if that should have been planed or plain, but damn, dude. That one was darker than my dark web training. Hold on, maybe I can fix this over here. Let me check something real quick. Go DC1. Can I, in the hardware configuration, can I change the clock settings? No, I can't change that there. Why are peppers the best at archery? Because they habanero? Okay, I must not know enough about archery to get that pun. I mean, the only thing I really know about peppers is that jalapenos are like really, really gossipy. They get jalapeno business. They habanero. Oh. Okay, if I had said it with the correct Spanish pronunciation, habanero. Nice. So DCO1 is reporting. Hold on, let me make sure I got this correct. Feels like maybe this is an issue with the Proxmox KVM settings for RTC or NTP, but now they changed the guess that may break them. I don't know. It might break them. I can always go revert the lab and then go check everything. I might just have to do that, unfortunately. I don't want to go revert the lab right now. I always confuse reptiles and amphibians. They never just seem to know what I'm talking about. That one took me a second, Ken. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like... I was almost expecting a lizard people joke.
RNO Gumby cheered 5 bits and says, "How many roaches does it take to change a light bulb?" No one knows. As soon as the lights come on, they scatter.
Scatter. They do scatter. They do be scattering. Hang on. Let me gather. Hold on. Let me gather some data here real quick. I'm grabbing some data here. Stand by, y'all. Let me see. So this one's looking like so. And then what do we got on the RTP server? Let me see. That's get date, but I want to hold on. Wait, I gotta do this a little bit. So I want to change this to UTC time. To universal time. I'm not pooping, Gumby. I'm right here. I'm not even. I'm just thinking really hard. How many birds does it take to screw a light bulb? Only 2, but I can't figure out how to get them both in there. The one, yeah, that's, I've pretty much heard the same version of that, but I think it was with mice. Like, how many mice does it take to screw in a light bulb? I've started dropping some of the, like, really bad dad jokes, like, on Agent Zero. He'd come to me like, I'm so hungry. He would come into like, I'm starving. I'm like, hi, starving. I'm dead. He hates that. He hates it so much. So yeah, here's the problem, right? UTC time is currently being reported as 3:18 a.m. However, over here, we're reporting that UTC is 4:18. That's the problem. They're off by an hour. And when it comes to Kerberos, I think you're only allowed about a 5-minute clock skew before it just goes haywire. My daughter really hates the hi XYZ, I'm dead too, which makes you do it more. Exactly. Takes 3 blazes to screw the light bulb. Yeah, probably. Like one to like diagnose the issue, and another one to tell the other one to do it, and a third one to sit back and like eat Cheetos and watch him do it. What did I set this real quick? Hang on. I think it's grep. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. Yeah. Cheetos? Yeah, they're like one of my few cheat foods whenever I want to go eat something. It's Cheetos and pizza, usually. I'm working on a Windows local persistence box on TryHackMe Evil WinRM. It's been a nightmare. Any pointers? So you're talking about like for doing local persistence, like getting a callback on the system that's going to hang out between reboots? Is that what you're talking about, Gubby? Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of persistence techniques that you can look at. It just depends on like what you're trying to do. Evil WinRM has its own set of like weird oddities to it. It's actually on my to-do list to remake it because I secretly hate it. It's the best of a bad solution. It has a lot of stuff that it makes look super helpful, but there's things happening in the background that it abstracts away from you that if you don't ever experience them the hard way, you're not going to realize what they're doing. It makes it look like it's one like long, logical, persistent session. And let's say you leave an evil WinRM session up for a long time. What's actually happening in the background is it's dying, the PowerShell process that you've got, and you're starting from scratch after, I forget how long, maybe an hour. I don't know. I've left them up for a long time thinking it would keep the process alive, but no, the process on the machine I'm connected to is dead, and it looks like it's just picking up where I left off. Yeah, man, we could do that. All right, hang on. Let me try something real quick. Let's see if we can get... Do we have Nmap on this machine? No, we don't. All right. That'd be asking too much. Hang on. Let's see if we can get what the time is on it. That matches what we just saw. Hang on. Yeah, so this is showing, like, it's just another way to verify the time on here. Let me check the time sync status real quick. Let's see. Time sync status. Let me try. Hold on. Let me try this over on Cyrax real quick. So I want to figure this out. This is pissing me off. So both of these are showing like the exact same configuration on here. What is going on here? There's some kind of weirdness between the clock in the hardware and the VM and then in the syncing. I just realized something. Look at this. Packet count 0? Hold on. Let me try restarting timesync D real quick. Hang on. Okay. All right, so I think the problem is we already had DST time, like automatic DST was enabled, right? Yeah, we got that. What box are we working on? So we're still working on getting root access onto Cyrax, the Linux machine, real quick. And everything was kind of working, but not exactly. There's a time skew between these things. I think hard-coding the universal timer across everything is a good way to eliminate the time zone variable if you can. That's exactly what I was just thinking about doing. I think that's a good idea. Hold on. See. UTC time now. All right, hold on. So I'm looking at it on my other system real quick. Like, I need a live clock, like down to the second. There we go. All right, so I got this pulled up. Let me just show y'all. I just pulled up a clock on the other monitor here. So I can try to get this correct. So what we want to do is set date. And then what we want to do is we want to do a get date. I think, hold on, let me make sure I got this right. Get date, and then we're going to format it 2026 05 31. And then time would be 04:32:00. I'm setting it a little bit ahead in the future real quick, because I'm just double checking this real quick. Yeah. So it's 30 right now. I want to make sure that I've got the correct one right here. Okay, so that should be good there. And then if I do 2, should be like 2 local time. No, wait, hold on. I gotta wrap this. 1 sec. 2 local time. Bam. All right, so even if that's an hour off, that's no problem. All right, so here, let's change this. Change that to 30. And then what we'll do is we're gonna actually just pass this over to set date. All right, we're gonna hack it a little bit. We're gonna force the time on the server to be the correct UTC time. So hold on, when it hits 30 seconds over here on my computer, I'm gonna hit this. About 8 seconds. All right, 2, 1, bam. Okay, so now get date, and then let's double check it to universal time 31:45. Close enough. Okay, so now let's go back over here. $31.56. Boom. Okay. Now the real test is going to be, if I come back over here, it's happening. Okay, so that should have updated that. We are root on Cyrax. I am root. I am root. I am root. I knew I was not going completely insane. But guys, this is the kind of stuff where I talk about understanding like what's happening. Because if we did not understand how Kerberos worked, and we didn't understand what those errors are, and also thank you to, I think it was who was that noticed the clock to you? Hang on. That was there you go. I think it was Epimistic Anarchist. I think that's who did it. NTP is off on Cali. Let's see. Yeah, that was him. Okay, hang on. Yeah, I gotta give you the hookup. There we go. I need to fix that. Man, it would have done the... So I fixed 2 things in there, but I haven't got them. So for one, it's going to start counting like how often the buffer overflows up there. And... Or like how many times it's overflowed like since the start of the stream. But also, it's supposed to do like cool effects up there. Anyway. Alright, so cool. We got root on Cyrax. Awesome. Make a note of this. Hold on. Hope a commercial is going. Oh, hold on. Actually, thank you for reminding me. Snooze ads. Boop. No, because we got to go ahead and wrap up there. We're about 35 minutes past the end of the stream time. But this clock was not going to dictate my life. That's right. You can overflow my buffer, Daddy Blaze. Damn it, Gumby. I hate that I showed you. Solo leveling abridged. We're back. This isn't Groot level Root. I am Root. I am Root. Groot level Root. Groot Root. It's a Groot Root. All right. Unfortunately, guys, that is where I need to wrap it up for tonight. So cool. We'll start working on moving off of Cyrax tomorrow night. So hang on. Let's go check and see if anybody's over on InfoSec streams. MSec's on, maybe. Let's see. Ah! I had it playing through the wrong speakers. Let's see. What's he working on? Back on the Zeldathon Omnibar with Claude, adding Twitch integration. Okay. So he's working on coding some stuff up right now. He's not actually doing security stuff. So we'll go see who else we can find to go raid over to. Yes, Daddy Blaze love you long time. That's right. Let's see, who's on right now? Let's see, Zed is like always on. We could always go right over to Zed. I mean, ImSec is doing a charity stream. I'm not sure how that works into the charity, but hold on. Let's go see. Who might we be able to go raid out to? If anybody has any raid suggestions, please feel free to shout them out. Otherwise, we might just go right over to Darkside Diaries. That's always a good raid target. You know what? Let me go look at something real quick. Unfortunately, nobody's streaming Greyhack. That'd have been fun to go raid somebody for doing that. Midnight Sumo? I don't know if I can raid Midnight Sumo. Even though I love Midnight Sumo. It gets weird. Yeah, because, like, it's weird. Like, some of my... Like, I have 2 different Twitch accounts, right? And one can watch Midnight Sumo and the other one can't. It's weird. Hold on. What's the actual... I gotta find the account for it. Twitch Midnight Sumo. Yeah. It's weird. Like, I don't think I can raid to Midnight Sumo. I don't know if they blocked me or I just can't raid over to them. But yeah, I would love to, but I can't. Yeah, I was actually thinking about Sid also. So yeah, we'll do that. Sid's good peoples. Sid is very good peoples. Let's go right over to him. He's always doing fun electronic stuff too. Hacking the hardware. So yeah, we'll do that. All right, guys, do me a favor. When you get over to Sid's stream, drop a bunch of Hack the Planets and Happy Hackers in there. Show him some love, because he's always hacking on the hardware stuff. All right, we'll catch y'all tomorrow night. We're going to start pilfering Cyrax to move over to Vagar. So I think I know how we're going to do that. We're going to figure it out. I hope all of y'all have a wonderful Sunday tomorrow. If it's already your Sunday, I hope it's already wonderful in full effect. And spend time with your friends and family so we can get fully prepared and refueled for Monday's Crushing It mode. So I'll catch y'all tomorrow night. We're going to hack on Cyrax and then move over to Vagar, hopefully. And I think that's pretty much everything I got. Remember, when you get over to Sid stream, drop a bunch of happy hackers and hack the planets on them. And I will catch y'all tomorrow night. I want y'all to remember one very important thing. I love you. Peace.